Go.
So it was about a 5-year period of time that we started saving up money for this opportunity to go to Europe for a year. Our kids had all grown up. The youngest one was in college, so it was a good timing from that standpoint. And during that time, kind of slowly during that time, I started getting this feeling that God would be pleased if instead of just going to Europe and, having an extended 1-year-long vacation, that we would do something more in line with serving Him, some kind of ministry opportunity. And I was really hesitant to say anything to Adrienne because she was so excited about this trip and we were just dreaming about it and loving the idea. So I held back and I didn't say anything to her about it.
Meanwhile, if anyone had asked me 15 years ago if Mark and I would end up on the mission field, I would have just laughed and said, I don't think so. But while all this was going on with Mark in anticipation of this year in Europe, the same thing was happening in my heart. Probably after a few months of sensing this and really kind of struggling and fighting it, I brought it up to Mark and told him what was on my heart, and his jaw practically dropped open.
It did.
and he shared that God had been working the same thing in his heart.
When we had the opportunity to start PathLight, I remember coming home after a phone call with a friend, and I told Dion, maybe we ought to do this. And the first question she asked was, who would actually move to Belize? And I thought for a second, I go, Mark and Adrienne. And you responded.
Started to cry. That's what I always do when something like that happens, yeah.
And about 6 months later, they moved to Belize.
They said yes.
Yeah. We met Mark and Adrienne in church on an Easter Sunday almost 30 years ago. They've been our closest spiritual friends. We think of them so highly, and we're so excited that they were our partners when we started PathLight. They were the ones that had the courage and the faith to actually move to Belize and get PathLight started.
When we first came to Belize, we were really open to whatever God wanted to show us in terms of service.
We started off really just investing in getting to know the staff here in Belize and getting to know people in the local villages around here, and really trying to investigate what are their needs and how can we partner with them.
Probably the one person that influenced us the most was the Peace Corps volunteer in the village of Armenia. And he made us aware of how few children go to high school.
What was really on our hearts was that there's so much more to doing high school than just paying the bills. When we decided to create a full sponsorship program, we wanted it to be very relational based. And because of our faith in Jesus Christ being so important to us and knowing how important that is, we really wanted that to be a part of what we provided with the kids, is the opportunity to really get to know Jesus and for Him to be a key part of their lives. So it really became much more of really meeting both their educational, academic needs, meeting their emotional needs, and meeting their spiritual needs.
One thing we realized was there was no big organizations working here. Because Belize is an English-speaking country surrounded by Spanish-speaking countries, it's easy for the large organizations to feel like it's not efficient for them to focus on Belize. And Roy started thinking about, we could have a huge impact here.
The challenge was, will you go to school and have your parents spend money that they barely have, or will you go and find work and help your other brothers and sisters? And so most students would rather find work. But that has changed since PathLight has started sponsoring students.
10 years ago, PathLight noticed that there were students that qualified to go to high school but didn't have the resources to go to high school, and so they began with just a few students and decided, let's help these kids have a shot and go to high school. But then they noticed that in the village of Armenia, where they started, that there were not that many kids that qualified to go to high school. And so they thought, well, if they start investing in the teachers, then they'd get more kids to qualify to go to high school. Then they noticed that if they could maybe increase the quality of the facilities that they had, that would help the teachers, that would help the students, and that's how we ended up with the 3 areas of PathLight: the sponsorship, the teacher training, and also hosting the mission teams that we call partners.
What PathLight does is that it walks the child through the process spiritually, financially, emotionally, by providing the counselors, the mentorship, the materials that the kids need, the transportation. In other words, when a child comes into PathLight, there is no excuse. And so the child then is able to focus on what matters most.
I think it was about 3 years into it that the principal came to us and said, you know, the PathLight students are starting to be perceived as the leaders in the classrooms. Yeah. So they
were being elected as the student
yeah,
body
right.
officers.
They're doing good academically,
yeah.
And so that really helped, just helped establish PathLight as, you know, we're here for the long haul, and we're really helping.
As time went on and as growth continued to happen, we really began to sense God telling us it's time to release it to the next group of people who will really take it the next step that I want to take it. And so as we were feeling called to step out of that day-to-day leadership and focus more just on our roles on the board of directors, he provided just the right people to step into those leadership positions that needed newness and a new set of skills to really grow those areas.
Mark Parcher found out about me, and so they showed up at my house and told me about PathLight. I didn't know anything about PathLight at the time, and the more Mark told me about PathLight, the more I was interested in being a part of it because of the impact through education that they were bringing to the nation. And so that was what caused me to want to be a part of it as soon as possible.
Well, I came to Belmopan about 6 years now, and one of the first partners I heard about was PathLight. What PathLight has done that I so much love is including us in whatever they do.
This is one of the projects that we also came in to work with at the school, having this library, which is of great need for the school as well. We could see partnership with the community as parents and school managers working together with us. That's a great partnership that we have in the communities of St. Margaret.
You might not believe the way that they have shown their love to us, in that we are strangers, and when they come here, you know, they saw our need. And coming to El Shaddai, it was a school that really needed much assistance. And they have been like I can say the wind on our wings.
PathLight opened the doors, and from there on, I could say I started to smile and feel more important, and I knew that I could have been someone from there on.
PathLight is God's. It's not the Parchers and Goebels, but it's God's work, and He's the one that's directing it. So God really kind of caught us off guard in calling us into missions, because neither of us really saw it coming, but it in the end has been exactly what He knew was right for us.
Thank you a lot, PathLight. You have been a very big help for me and for my family, and I hope you continue helping other students as how you helped me. So thank you very much.
Mark, Adrian, thank you so much. You made PathLight. We got to stay here in the U.S. and take all the credit, but you're the ones that were there on the front lines making it happen. You made it tangible and real for so many teachers, students, and communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's such a sense of excitement that we're still just on the cusp of what God has for PathLight to do. And it's fun and exciting because as long as we keep our focus on following what He puts before us, man, there's incredible opportunities and incredible things still to be done.